Hey there, traveler. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're able to take this time to come back to the breath and take a moment to reflect on where you're at. Take the time to observe the world around you. What is your current space? This time around, we're going to take the time to think about all the crazy causes and conditions that brought this space forward, brought you here. There's so many different things that you have to take into consideration that bring you here, right? All the metacognition that actually takes to manifest right now. For instance, for you, yourself, what are all the things you're carrying internally right now? I like to think that wherever you're at right now, you can be listening to this as a completely blank slate and being able to just share it and inhabit the space with me. But that's not typically how agents and anthropological people such as ourselves work. Humans don't typically exist in that vacuum. So what thoughts did you bring into this session today? To this space, to right here, to right now? We take the time to actually learn how to meditate. And the simplest way I can describe meditation is singleness of focus, being present, one thing at a time. I'm not someone who knows really how to effectively turn off thoughts when they go loud and when they're going in all their crazy different directions. In fact, the only thing I've really found to be able to get through those different things outside of the help of others and other people and other situations and maybe little critters is just letting the thoughts flow, learning how to respond to them instead of react to them. When I get stuck in this cycle of reaction, I become my own worst nightmare, and I go down these different tendrils of these different worms, and this is the uzumaki, as I like to call it. Going down all the different multiverses, trying to make up all the different realities I can in my head. So often do the thoughts in my head just simply do have no match in the actual physical reality that I inhabit. I've created so many more realities than I've ever actually experienced. For my knowledge, I'm only here. But in my head, I've been able to go to countless different places. Some good, some bad. Some mundane, some spiritual. Again, that perception is magic. The only thing that's changed again in all of these different experiences is how I experience it. How I respond to it. How I don't react with the first thought. I let it be and I take my time to do my best to process and understand it, and I respond in a different way of my choosing, a way of who I want to be. Growing along in those incremental ways, trying to just do the next right thing. Now that's just, for instance, how I inhabit this space, or for instance, how you inhabit this space. That's just one small factor. For instance, right now I'm recording on a phone. A lot of different work had to come into making this phone. I believe that technology literally had to go to space in order to make this current phone work. We've had to extract resources buried deep within the earth. All these little things are all the little nodes and connection points that create the space here for me. And with it come with their own stories and lineages and transmutation back. Now, I know I'm a little radical when it comes to believing what exactly has its own agency and what does not. But inherently, these spaces and these inanimate objects that I surround myself with currently have their own lineages of go back into the creation of Earth itself, the stars, and the cosmos. And they're, for all intents and purposes, create just as much of the space as I do. What about you? Are you surrounded in a space full of life? Sharing it with other potential agents and actors? Are you in a place of dearth, but still, that maybe has its own sense of being to itself? Originally coming from the desert myself, I always feel that kind of looming sense of space, the vastness of it, and its own sense of hum of being. I think reflecting, taking that time and space to what brings you to right here, right now, really helps us get bearings with trying to understand what this week's question of the week is. This week's question is, do you like talking to strangers? This is one that I kind of struggle with concept myself, because my instinct reaction is to be like, no, not really. I kind of like my little community and like my little shelter group, and I like to be able to have my little resources. When I'm on the transit or I'm commuting and I have to interact with the public, I don't like it, and I just want to be left to my own devices. But then at the same time, I have the biased recognition that some of the most important people in my life, my partner, the people that I'm growing connections with and explicitly interested in, my friends, my coworkers, people that inspire me, my heroes, Steve Irwin, all these different people, they all started as strangers. And I can think of so many different times and spaces that I've had these different connections with people, or all of a sudden I've had a conversation with a stranger all night long, where I've all of a sudden gotten rid of my Sunday scaries by hopping on the phone and chatting the night away to someone I'm just now beginning to learn the lore of and understand their fascinating stories. Or when I've been at some of my most lonely spots, when I've really struggled at night, when I've been in ideation and wanted to hurt myself, whether that was through explicit self-harm or through not as explicit ways, by whether it's starving or allowing myself to suffer through uzumaki, or not finding a bed for the night. I can think of several times in my active addiction where just being able to talk with someone throughout the night meant the world to me. I can think of times where I was long into my recovery and staying up all night, just being there with someone else who I just met and just trying to make sure that they got through the night really kept me going too. I think I don't like, typically when it's not on my own terms, or if I don't have the spoons, or if I'm caught up in the minutia of life, or if I'm caught up in the grind, I really don't like talking to strangers. But in those opportune moments where I allow myself to slow down, to find those connection points, to be able to pursue and to be present with someone else, whether that be in an intimate way or just as two lights lost in the evening, hunkering together in some vanity of safety. I really do like talking to people, and some of the most important conversations I probably have ever had have come from strangers, especially the ones that led to the most beautiful connections in the world. I still think it's scary to talk to new people. I still think it's exhausting a lot of the time, having to wear different masks and having to delayer and having to get out that authentic self. And I think that's ultimately why I'm a therapy journey, and so I'm trying to have that be my mask no matter what situation I'm in. But ultimately, when I get down to thinking about it, I think that there is nothing more human than sometimes talking to a stranger and making that new connection. What greater adventure do you have in the age of exploration of humankind than meeting a new connection and changing your reality and changing the magic of your perception and what you can see? I really do think that's why humans are some of the most interesting little critters, is our ability to storytell and being able to connect with each other and actually learn each other from that period in time and space. Well, I think that's more often than not worth than taking the risk and sometimes having a conversation with a stranger. Sometimes it leads to late nights, warm feelings. Other times it leads to breaks in reality, changing for all the different reasons. Now, as always, I recommend having your trusted confidant of people that you do have your ability to be authentic with, to listen to, and have that. I'm not recommending going out in the streets and having open conversations about your social security and your personal identity with everyone left and right. When the space aligns and the opportunity presents itself, who knows what connections and adventures are out there still left to be made. As everything, it is impermanent. Connections, life, the time we spend here. But in that time and in that space, traveler, you are always loved, and you are always enough.